I remember seeing a truck sitting right in front of my vehicle, sideways. There was no way around him. I remember slamming on my brakes. I remember trying to get out of my car. I couldn't move. So I realized then that, there was something wrong.
It was a normal day, and her coworker told me that she had been in a wreck. There was a truck coming towards her, and then the next thing she knows is he was crossways the road in front of her.
That impact was so hard. I fractured my neck, fractured my skull, had 2 fractures in my back, broke my collarbone. I had 17 broke ribs. My pelvic bone was broke. Both my femurs were open compound fractures. Both my knees were crushed, and my right ankle was dislocated, and it was also like an open fracture. When I come to, of course, I was in ICU and had machines hooked up and tubes, and when I was told all the injuries that happened, I was just like in awe, I guess, that I survived that. My collarbone was broke, 17 ribs, my pelvic bone. No doubt in my mind that was that seatbelt that done that. So that shows you how hard that impact was. Had I not had it on, I'd have went through the windshield. I'm completely broken, head to toe. That pain was indescribable, indescribable pain. The pain medication didn't touch it. Insurance companies were calling the hospital to speak to me almost immediately. So that's how Cindy came into the picture.
I think it was on a Saturday morning that I reached out to Crocker Law. I just kind of thought it would be a good fit, just from what I'd seen of Cindy.
Beth's family described her to me as a hard worker. She's a person of faith, and she's very close to her family. Her family also described her as someone who is quick to help others, but not typically someone who asks others for help. So I saw Beth in the hospital, and I walk in, and she has these devices holding all her broken bones together. She was heavily medicated, but she was able to talk to me, and she just looked at me and said, "So what happens now?"
My anxiety was through the roof. I mean, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. I was completely dependent on other people. That was probably one of the hardest things.
When I first met Beth and did the initial evaluation, she was in so much pain and she had so much anxiety and fear about what was going on, and she had so many orthopedic limitations. It wasn't something that was in the book. We had to kind of make something up specific to her.
Every change was very scary for me. I remember Doug taking me out in the hall and trying to teach me how to roll that wheelchair, with one arm, and then as I progressed, teaching me how to get out of bed and in the wheelchair on my own. When I come home, everything was the same. My house was the same, my yard was the same, but I was different. I couldn't do things, the same way anymore.
Her house was not accessible to her at all. We went to her house and moved a lot of things because I knew her, that she's going to do things on her own, and she's not good about letting anybody help her do anything. So we moved a lot of her things out of her cabinets down, put them on the counter, moved them down under the bottom row of the counter so she could have access to those things, and just tried to do things like that in her bathroom.
Since the accident, I still work out, I still do my yard work, but I have to have routine. I get up in the morning, the first thing I do is go to the gym, and that's how I start my day. Then I come home and, take care of my yard and, my house. And as far as the hobbies, I do a lot of crafting. I do more crafting than I should. That's something I didn't do before. And the reason I do that is because I have to have something to occupy my time. Being active and being as healthy as you can be, I think it's played a huge role in it. First started going back to the gym after my accident. I was still in a wheelchair. I know that I wouldn't be where I'm at today if I hadn't started working out in that wheelchair and then in the pool and then pushed myself to do something different.
I saw her progress, not physically as much as some other therapists did, but I saw her progress as a person, from someone that was broken and someone that was hurting to someone that was confident and ready for her body to heal so that she could get back to her lifestyle. And that was her motivation. I think anytime someone is hurt and has that drastic of a change that quickly, I think most of the time their motivation is to get back to what they had. But a large part of Beth's victory was the fact that she was winning the battle in her head and in her heart.
Her life was upended, and she put it back together again, and she did it with optimism and faith and courage. Courage doesn't mean that you're not scared. I promise you, Beth was scared. It doesn't mean that you have to do it by yourself. You know, on top of Beth's own determination and willpower and hard work, she had a support team. She had lawyers and doctors and therapists. She had her sisters, she had her faith community. She had people to lean on. And for Beth, part of her recovery was finding the grace to let people help her, whether it was picking up her mail or moving her dishes to a lower cabinet.
An injury of this magnitude doesn't necessarily mean your life's over. It may change your life, but it doesn't have to end it. She's not just surviving, she's thriving.
It was just like, this is what I have to do. You know, don't give up on your life, on yourself, on your dreams. That's the biggest thing for me is to keep moving forward.